Hey, what's up, guys? It's Aaron, or LM9, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make the Skywalker family lightsaber from Star Wars in Lego. Now, this one in particular is based off of Anakin's hilt from Revenge of the Sith and Luke's from A New Hope. There's just some subtle differences between this version and the version from Empire Strikes Back and the sequels, mainly in the grip arrangement. So if you guys are following this, just make sure you're making the correct hilt for whatever figure you'll be using it for. Now, I've done a tutorial on this hilt already, but that was a couple years ago at this point, and it has been widely requested by all of you to do an updated tutorial, so let's go ahead and get started.
This is where the fun begins.
So the materials you guys will need are as follows. You'll need some sort of metallic silver or pearl silver Lego rod piece. I'm using a spear. I just need it in silver just because it's going to help with the paint rub. It doesn't have to be, but I'm using it just because it's easier and I had one laying around. So it's not required for it to be silver, but it definitely helps. But you will need a larger rod piece like this. You also need one Lego lightsaber hilt piece. You'll need some sculpting putty, and I'm using Procreate, and I got that off of Amazon for around 15 bucks at the time of recording. You'll need some sculpting tools like an X-Acto blade, a wooden spatula, a pick or something like that, well, just whatever you guys are comfortable using to sculpt. You'll need some sort of sanding material like sandpaper or sanding sticks. You need some super glue. You'll need some small scissors. You'll need a flattened soda can or just some really thin sheet metal. And then you'll need, of course, some paint. So you'll need silver, gunmetal, black, gold, and red. And then here's all of the brands that I'll be using. So first thing we're going to do is start sculpting the grips. Now on the end of the silver rod, I'm going to wrap a piece of Procreate around it. You guys are going to want to shape this up with the X-Acto knife and the little spatula piece, whatever you guys are using, so that way the putty is evenly and thinly spread and sharp on the ends. Now for reference, the grips should be about as tall as a Lego hand piece. Now with the X-Acto knife, I'm going to start cutting out the actual grips. Now this version I'm making has 7 grips, whereas the Empire Strikes Back and the sequel version has 6. Now these grips are just going to be solid rectangles, but if you guys are making the other version, you'll have to carve a little split towards the end. Now once you're done shaping the grips, prop this rod up and then let your putty fully cure. Now while that is curing, we're going to go ahead and focus on the emitter. Now start by shaving off the sides of the Lego emitter piece until that whole emitter is smooth and flush on the sides. Then you're going to want to sand a little bit off the top to shorten it. Now here's a little comparison between where we're at now and what it initially looked like, just so you guys can see how much I actually took off. Now you'll need that metal can. Now there's not really a great method for this, it's just kind of just trial and error, but what I do is I draw a shape like this with the upper corners curved and it kind of flays out a little bit outward at the bottom. Cut this out and then carefully bend it around a round tool like a brush handle. Now this tool should be thicker than a Lego bar, but not as thick as the emitter piece we have so far. Now once that's curved, you may need to shape it until you're happy with it. It's just all a point of personal preference. I really don't have some sort of, professional methodology behind this thing. It's just kind of just looking at it and seeing if it's right or not. Just make sure you get that nice curved shape there. And once you're done, you may want to put a little extra glue on both sides once you glue this onto the actual emitter piece, just so you can reinforce it as much as you can. Because this is metal, it can bend and it can break off easily, so just make sure you glue that seam there so it just won't break off. Next, you'll want to cut another small thin rectangle from the metal and then bend it the same way. Cut it to size and glue it on the inside of the first metal piece. So now the metal work is done. I'm going to go ahead and apply a very thin layer of putty on that main metal layer there, just to make the transition from pieces seamless, which also provides another layer of reinforcement. So go ahead and let that fully cure. Now once that piece is fully cured, you guys will want to lightly sand it just to make sure everything is all even. Now we need to sculpt some really small details on here. So we're going to start with the prongs on the top of the emitter. So you guys want to shape that with your sculpting tools and work with it until you're happy with it. You want these things being just a blob of Procreate on here. You want to go in, make sure you got a nice amount on there, and make sure you get that little seam down the centerpiece. Below that, I'm going to sculpt a little circular button, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the other end of the emitter with a little circle for one of the buttons on the hilt. So let those fully cure and then sand them when they are done. Now at this point, your grips should be done curing, so you guys can go ahead and sand those if you need to. And then we're going to cut this section off of the Lego bar, and I'm making this cut a little more than a hand's length away from the grips, just so I can have some room if I need to cut a little bit more off or sand a little bit just to make it more even. You don't really want to make it short because the hand won't be able to grip onto it, and you'll have to resculpt those grip pieces. Now once all of the bits on the emitter are dry and sanded, cut this off of the hilt piece and sand the bottom to make sure the cut was even. Then you'll glue the emitter to the rest of the hilt. Now you're ready to paint. I personally am not going to paint this one since I'm planning on sending it to my buddy Forge510 to get it casted, but the paintwork isn't really anything too complex. So you want to paint everything on the hilt silver, and then you don't really want to paint the area the hand grabs onto, so that's why we used a silver rod as a base. Once the silver is dry, use the black to paint on the grips, the indents, and then the top button, and then use gold for the indent accents. Use your red paint to cover over the black on the top button, and finish it off with some gunmetal details like on the button and just some other really small details. Now you are done. Hopefully this tutorial helped you guys out. If you guys make this, be sure to post it on Instagram and tag me in it. I'd love to see if you guys are able to do this. Also, let me know if there are any other tutorials you'd like to see. I was thinking of doing some sculpting tutorials for armor and hair, and maybe some cloth tutorials for like Jedi robes and stuff like that. So just let me know if you guys are interested, and also let me know if you guys have any questions on this tutorial. If anything is stumping you, just send me a DM or leave a comment down below, and I'll be sure to answer you guys if you guys are stuck anywhere. Now, like I said earlier, I'm planning on getting this hilt casted, so I won't have to make this same hilt for like the millionth time. So please let me know if that is something you guys would be interested in. Thanks again, guys. Good luck, and I will see you guys later.